All right, Shalom. First, let's start by saying all praise to Yahweh, Bashim Abishai, Bashim Kakadash, double honors to the elders, the apostles that were well, and salutations to the brothers that's doing the truth and sincerity. This is Hurricane Francine makes landfall in Louisiana as Category 2 storm.
Coming on the network with breaking news, Hurricane Francine has been upgraded to a powerful Category 2 storm. It has just made landfall on the Louisiana coast southwest of New Orleans. You can see right there that New Orleans and Baton Rouge are both expected to get some of the worst of the storm. Winds right now churning at 100 miles per hour. Francine is blasting the coastline right now with strong winds and drenching rain. It has already spawned off tornado warnings. Though Louisiana is used to direct hits, there are real concerns here of catastrophic flooding and mass power outages as the evening wears on. Let's go right to senior national correspondent Tom Yamas in New Orleans. Describe the conditions, Tom.
Good evening, Lester. Just as we came on with this special report, the wind gusts started to pick up here. This feels about tropical storm-style wind gusts, but those hurricane-force wind gusts should pick up in the next hour or so as that Hurricane Francine, inches closer and closer to the Big Easy. Just behind me here is Lake Pontchartrain. As you know, New Orleans is sandwiched between this massive lake and the Mississippi River, and that's why the surge from Lake Pontchartrain is the biggest concern right now, and of course that the levees hold up. We've been out and about all over New Orleans today. Firefighters having to deal with a fire while they prepare for this hurricane. This was in the Bywater district, and as the first rain bands, were coming off Hurricane Francine, these firefighters were inside of a structure. The entire roof almost burned off. It's still unclear what started that fire, but it just goes to show what these first responders are up against right now. And that's why in many parts of Louisiana, in southern Louisiana, there is a curfew. Just behind me here, there are no cars here. Earlier in the day, there were a lot of people that were out here, looky-loos, if you will, trying to see what was going on, because it wasn't so bad in New Orleans. I gotta say, right now, it has just really picked up because it has been very calm. It has felt like a thunderstorm in New Orleans up until this point, and that's because just south of us, Hurricane Francine is getting closer and closer. 2,300 National Guard have been activated right now in the state of Louisiana. There are sporadic power outages, but they are expecting mass power outages eventually through the night, because this really is going to be a nighttime storm, a nighttime event, and that can be dangerous for first responders and really for the people that live here in Louisiana. I just got off the phone with a captain of the police department in Morgan City. They were rescuing a family that their trailer had been knocked over by the winds. Again, they are approaching the eye right now, and they're really feeling the brunt force of Hurricane Francine, if you will. He said by and large people were off the roads, but he wanted to get one message out. Please follow the curfew. It is just too dangerous out there. So dangerous that there's no visibility. The wind is so strong. They've pulled all their units out except in extreme situations where they have to rescue people. That's the latest right now from New Orleans as the wind gusts are starting to pick up and the rain is endless. Lester, let's send it back to you.
We're seeing some of that video of the storm surge effects. All right, Tom Yamas. Thanks. NBC News meteorologist Bill Cairns has the latest. Where is this going?
Lester, it's about 90 miles wide in between Baton Rouge and New Orleans, and that means that whole area, which includes a lot of people, has at risk of losing power, down trees, wind damage to roofs, and that's what we're going to be tracking. You can see how large the eye is here. So here's New Orleans here, and this bright red shows you where the strongest winds are. That's where we have the potential for gusts for 80 to 100 miles per hour. That's what's been happening in Morgan City and Houma, Louisiana over the last hour, but that is tracking northward. So we have our eye on New Orleans, only about 30 miles from that band. So that's roughly about 2 hours from now. It's going to be a close call if this goes through New Orleans or the western portions of New Orleans and up towards La Place and then up towards Baton Rouge. Definitely going to go through whatever's left of this eye. That's where the most significant damage is going to be, and that's where the most people are going to lose power. So for New Orleans specifically, the worst of the weather now through about 11 p.m. I mentioned about 2 hours from now is when we should have a dramatic increase in the winds, and that would probably be the time when people start beginning to lose power in the downtown area and the suburbs. As far as rain totals go, it's going to pour quickly, about 4 to 6 inches of rain, about 75 mile per hour winds are possible, and isolated tornadoes. And of course, we're going to affect this entire region, Lester, as we go throughout the rest of the day and the rest of the night. And winds anywhere above 50 have a chance for power outages. This will be widespread. That little upgrade from a category 1 to 2 doesn't sound like much, but hundreds of thousands of more people are going to lose power because of it.
And you mentioned tornadoes. Those will be all across the affected area?
It's mostly going to be in eastern Louisiana and also southern portions of Mississippi. We haven't had any yet, but we still have the potential for getting isolated ones as we go throughout the evening. And of course, flash flooding. We still have our first flash flood warnings. That was with that red blob, that eye that was moving onshore. We'll be tracking those flash flood warnings northwards as we go throughout the rest of the evening too, and eventually into Mississippi tomorrow. So again, the worst of the storm has moved onshore. This is now no longer really forecasting it. Now we're tracking who's going to get the worst damage.
All right, Bill Cairns, thanks very much. I want to go to Jesse Kirsch. He's in downtown New Orleans in the famed French Quarter. Jesse, we just heard you may be a couple of hours from the brunt of the storm, but what are you seeing already in downtown New Orleans?
Yeah, Lester, the rain is starting to pick up again. We've had pretty steady wind gusts. I just checked a measure of that, and we're getting wind gusts to around 15 miles per hour downtown. For context, for people who've been in New Orleans on a vacation, perhaps, Bourbon Street is back that way and runs in that direction. I want to give you an idea, though, of what we're seeing downtown. I'm just going to cross the street here, make sure there are no cars, and there shouldn't be, of course, because officials want people staying home. This gives you an idea of what the winds are doing to some of the trees. You can see how they're blowing around out here. We have still seen people out on the streets in cars. In fact, there's one doing a loop back there right now. We've seen people walking around, but largely it has been quiet out here. And officials have asked people as of noon Eastern time, that's when they had told people to be sheltering in place. We heard the governor say earlier as well, we're well past the point of evacuations. Now is the time to be bunkering down, to be ready to ride out the storm. And again, earlier we'd been expecting the track to take the storm to the left of New Orleans, so New Orleans being on the right side of the storm, but now modeling is showing that we could be having a direct hit here in New Orleans, Lester.
All right, Jesse Kirsch, you and your crew stay safe. That concludes this NBC News special report. Well, I'm...
All right. 1 second. All right, this is Ezekiel chapter 33, verse 1. Again, the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, Son of man, speak to the children of thy people, and say unto them, when I bring the sword upon the land, if the people of the land take a man of their coast and set him for their watchman, and when he seeth the sword come upon the land, he blow the trumpet and warn the people, then whosoever heareth the sound of the trumpet and taketh not warning, if the sword come and take him away, his blood shall be upon his own head. Right, so through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shema Shai, that's the lot that the prophets have to warn the people of the coming, plagues. Plagues can be in the form of death and destruction by way of storms, forest fires, etc. Man, but we've been saying that these plagues and things were going to happen. Even with these storms, it's just a plague from the Lord. It's going to do its damage. It might not kill everybody or kill nobody this time, but in the past, these storms in Louisiana have killed people, man. And then this is just, like the scripture said, this is just scourges for a minute. Basically just to chastise Israel so that they would straighten up. before he let all hell like really break loose. Because when all hell really break loose, you still gonna have these storms and stuff happening. So people gonna be in a real bad situation in them days. But this is Second Ezra chapter 16. I'm gonna start verse 5. Plagues are sent unto you, and what is he that may drive them away? Right. These storms have been hitting Louisiana just as well as the rest of the world. Constantly, non-stop. And that's how you know it's coming from the Lord, man. They've been record breaking, causing death and destruction. This is verse 14. Behold, the plagues are sent and shall not return again until they come upon the earth, right? And the Lord is not going to stop these plagues from happening, man. I'm going to jump to verse 17. Woe is me, who will deliver me in those days? The beginning of sorrows and great mournings, the beginning of famine and great death. And we coming into an end of these days. So it's really no longer the beginning. Slakia. It says the beginning of famine and great death, right? The beginning of wars, and the power shall stand in fear. The beginning of evils, what shall I do when these evils shall come? Right, man. So these storms are part of the plagues that the Lord sending, and they cause death sometimes, but they not going to stop happening. Verse 19, behold, famine and plague, tribulation and anguish are sent as scourges for amendment, right? Sent so that Israel will shape up, correct their ways. But for all these things, they shall not turn from their wickedness, nor be always mindful of the scourges. Right? Louisiana is known for what? Witchcrafts. And no matter how many storms the Lord send unto them, they will not stop their wicked ways. They will not stop the witchcraft. So the Lord going to keep sending these storms until he take them out. He going to keep sending the storms, jacking up people, houses, basically bankrupting people, so to speak, humbling people, But if they're not of the elect, it's just they just here for an example, to be destroyed, and what the elect should pay attention to and learn not to do, The second Ezra chapter 8, verse 50. For many great miseries shall be done to them that in the later time shall dwell in the world, because they have walked in great pride, right? And our people are extremely proud. They're either a part of the LGBTQ community or condone it, or, don't see nothing wrong with it. And all that's against the Lord. Same with witchcraft, gang banging, etc., man. As for the other nations, they don't have no repentance. The Lord is not dealing with them, so they just basically paying us, suffering what they're suffering for what they have done to us in previous lives of ours, and they're gonna keep going through hell, even in the kingdom of heaven, man, This next precept is Isaiah chapter 29, verse 6. Thou shalt be visited of the Lord, Yahweh of hosts, with thunder and with earthquake and great noise, with storm and tempest and the flame of devouring fire. Right, so these storms and tempests is going on. And you got in California the flames of devouring fire going on, man. Them forest fires are taking off. To the point where they said one specific forest fire is starting its own storms. You got thunder and lightning and stuff happening behind that fire, they say. That's how you know this. Well, we living in the last days, and this is prophecy that's going on, man. So All right, yeah. So I'm gonna go ahead and end it right here, man. I didn't want to drag it out too much. With that being said, call law, Yahweh Shemel Shai. Give honors to the elders and the apostles to well, and salutations to the brothers that stood in the truth and sincerity. Shalom.